everybody doing tonight? Pretty good. I heard some good, some bad. It's only like a 4-day week, so that's probably a good thing, right? Because you had Monday off. Some of you had Tuesday off too, a few of you. Did you had Tuesday off? See, that's great. Only 3-day week for you. That's not bad at all. 4-day weekend. Yeah, did you do anything awesome? No? That's cool. I heard it's like snowing a bunch in the mountains this week, so maybe skiing will be better, snowboarding, if any of you do that. I don't know. Do you guys do that? You don't do that? You do that? You snowboard? You ski? Where do you go? Copper. Well, maybe it'll get more snow this week, hopefully. That'd be cool. Well, that's great, guys. It's been a great week. Let's see. What else is exciting going on at the world of middle school these days? What? Nothing? Not a thing. What? Volleyball. It's volleyball season. What about you? Dissecting frogs. That sounds cool. I was at, I don't remember which school it was, but one of the schools was making ice cream in science last week. That was you. What's Sierra, right? You guys were making ice cream. That's a great science experiment. I don't know how it's like science, but who doesn't love ice cream? So that's great. Guys, if I've never met you before, my name is Bryce. I would love to get to know you, so come introduce yourself sometime. If you have not found your way to a seat yet, then there's a few over here or whatever, but I'm glad you guys are here. Guys, tonight we are continuing this brand new series that we kicked off last week called Open Hands, okay? And last week we started it off talking about what it looks like to live our lives with open hands, with all the different things we have. We talked about our time, our talents, our possessions, and a few other things. And we talked about, does anybody remember we talked about this one word that I was like, this is kind of a weird word. No, not that one. That was 2 weeks ago. That's a good memory. Steward. Yeah, we talked about steward, which I have a definition in case you weren't here. A steward, because that's a weird word. It kind of sounds like Stort or something, the little minion. But a steward is someone who takes care of something that belongs to someone else, right? So last week we talked about how we are stewards of our time, our talents, our possessions, because at the end of the day, God gifted us all of those things, and we are just here to steward them, right? To have open hands and to say, God, what do I want to do with them? Instead of holding them selfishly. I talked about it when I was in middle school. I only cared about my time and talents and stuff about me, and I thought my talents were about making me seem cooler and all those kind of things. And so that's what we talked about last week, and we're going to kind of jump right back in, continuing that, taking the next step of if we know that we are a steward of these things, what does it look like to actually start walking with open hands, and what does it look like to put that in practice? So if you missed it last week, don't worry, you are caught up, and tonight we're going to get into that. And I wanted to talk about how a lot of times when we want to start stewarding things to bring God glory, right? When we want to start using these things we have with our open hands, we need to see the people around us that are in need, right? Putting generosity to work looks like seeing people in need. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, dang, when I was in middle school, I was like oblivious to like people in need. Like it was never even crossed my mind, especially even worse in elementary school. Like I was just like, I don't know if I was just dumb or what, but I was in my own little bubble and I was just worried about my life. And I remember in elementary school, I had this friend, his name was Teddy. Okay, and Teddy, that's just a cool name. His name was probably like Theodore or something, but he went by Teddy, which was cool. And Teddy, I remember we'd be at lunch a lot of times, and Teddy would not eat any lunch, and he would just be chilling there. He'd be like the funniest kid I know, and he wouldn't like be complaining or anything. He would just be sitting there, and I just figured like, oh, Teddy must just not be hungry. And then a few years later, I was in middle school, and I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, yeah, like Teddy like never eats lunch. Like he's just not hungry. I don't know. And I've learned that my mom was like, no, it's not that he's not hungry. It's that like his family is really struggling. His parents, at least in elementary school, I'm not sure about in middle school, they were unemployed for a while and they could not afford to give him lunch to take to school. And so he would just go to lunch or to go to school and not have lunch. He could only have 2 meals a day, and that was just normal for him. And he didn't care or complain because that was all he knew. And back then, now like school lunch is free, which is awesome. But back then it was not free. So he couldn't afford to buy school lunch. And I had no idea, like I would be like feasting on this like massive lunch that I would pack from my house because I would pack my own lunches. So I would just throw in like everything that was like junk food mostly. And I could have probably given Teddy something, but I was just oblivious to the fact that he was in need at all. I didn't even notice it, right? And it's not that I was necessarily a bad person or anything like that, right? I think a lot of us don't notice people in need around us, and we're not bad people for it. It's just that we're not always paying attention. We're not always looking for it, right? We don't notice things. Like when I was telling you guys, when I was in middle school, I was very focused on myself. I was focused on my skills, my time playing basketball, my friends, and what I wanted to do and what I was doing next and how cool I thought I was or what I thought was important to me, that I just didn't notice the things around me. And I think that happens to a lot of us, and it doesn't make us bad people. It just means, hey, sometimes we're not paying attention. Sometimes we don't see the things around us, and sometimes we don't see the needs. And when I started to look more into this, I was like, okay, I wonder what that looks like in our world where we kind of live in this area. A lot of us are in Douglas County or in Parker. Maybe you live in Aurora. Maybe you're in Arapahoe County, wherever in the surrounding area. In Douglas County, okay, there are just under 20,000 people who experience what they call food insecurity, okay? Now, food insecurity is kind of like a spectrum. It could be anything from they literally have no food or they're on food stamps or they're starving to more on the other side where it's okay, there's a few times a month where they don't have food for their family, and that's still a really hard thing. But food insecurity can kind of be anywhere on that spectrum where it could be really, really severe, it could be less severe, but it's somewhere on there. 20,000 people in Douglas County. That's a lot of people in this little area. And if you don't know, Douglas County is one of the richest counties in America. So if even in this county, that's a big deal, right? And of that, when I was okay, well, how many of those are students, the people around us? When I looked that up, it was 13,000 of those 20,000 are students in the county. That means 15% of the students in Douglas County, so of your guys' peers, are experiencing or have experienced food insecurity in some way. That's 1 in every 7, right? So if there's 10 people, if there's 7 people, 1 of those 7 people has likely experienced that or is going through that. That's a lot of people. I was shocked when I was reading that. And I can't even imagine, that thought never would have crossed my mind when I was in middle school. And even if I did hear that, it would have been in one ear and out the other, because I'd been well, not me, not my problem. And I just would have moved on, right? And I don't think that that's how you guys are, because you guys are a lot more caring than I ever was when I was in middle school. But that's crazy. When I wrote that, it was just blowing my mind. It was that is a lot of people that are struggling and have a need right around us, right? Something as simple as food, right? There's a ton of food in the world. And that's just in Douglas County. If you were to expand that out to Colorado, I'm sure it's even more crazy, or to the whole United States. Or if you go to the whole world and you start thinking about these different third world countries, man, the food insecurity is crazy. It's crazy to think about when you think about how much food there is in the world. There's a ton of food, but then there's all these people who don't have any. So it's crazy. But I bring that up because we are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I don't know if you've ever heard that. If you've ever been in church before, you maybe have heard this idea that we're called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And tonight, we're going to kind of go through really quick this story of where this idea of being the hands and feet of Jesus comes from. And we're going to read this conversation that Jesus has. And he has this conversation where he's kind of teaching these people, and he's teaching these people about what are the things that God cares a lot about. He's teaching about what is important, right? And so it's a pretty, it's a kind of an intense story, and we're going to kind of fly through it. So if you want to read along, it's going to be in Matthew 25. We're going to start in verse 31. It'll be on the screen too, but we're going to kind of move quickly through this story. But to set it up a little bit, basically Jesus is telling this story to help people understand what really matters to God, what is important to him. He's not trying to scare anyone. He's trying to help people see what love looks like in the real world. So we're going to pick it up here in verse 34, Matthew 25. It'll be on the screen. When we get to a purple word, you read it. This is a little more reading than we usually do around here, so, lock in. Here we go. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." So Jesus starts out, and he's like, hey, I was in need, and you guys were helping me, right? He's telling these people this, and it sounds pretty cool so far. Let's move on. Next slide, please. It says, then, story continues, then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink?" So these people are really confused. They're like, I don't actually remember seeing you being hungry, Jesus. I don't remember this happening. What's going on here? And so he says, when did we see you as a stranger, invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And when he says one of the least of these, he's talking about any of these people who are in need, right? Whether it's somebody who's hungry or thirsty or needs clothes or a stranger or any of those things, any of them. That's what he's talking about when he says the least of these, and he's going to say it again. So keep going. Then he will say to those on his left. So he was talking to one group of people. Now he shifts and he's talking to this other group of people. So those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger and you did invite me in. I needed clothes and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison and you did not look after me. Kind of a heavy thing, right? He's telling these other group of people, you guys did not do these things. You did not invite me in. You did not help me. Continue on. And they're kind of confused too. So they also will also answer, Lord, did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison and did not help you? So they're confused. They're like, Jesus, we didn't see you in need. We didn't see this. If we would have saw you sitting on the side of the road in need, we would have helped you. We didn't see you starving. We didn't see you in need. We didn't see you sitting on the outside, not having anyone to invite you in, not having any friends. We didn't see you doing that, Jesus. And he replies to them, truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for the least of, you did not do for me. Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. Okay, so it's kind of a heavy passage. It's intense, right? This is not like a just like happy unicorns and rainbows. It's like, this is intense. There's a lot of people who Jesus is saying, hey, you did not help me because you didn't help those people in need, right? It's kind of a pretty cool passage too, though, because I think what we see is God is calling us to something, right? God, he's not asking us to fix everything. He's asking us to help someone, right? God doesn't ask us to fix everything in the world. He asks us to help someone, right? Jesus isn't saying that every problem in the world you need to fix, right? He's saying when we notice someone who needs help and when we choose to care, that matters to God. He cares about that. He loves to see that we care for those in need. And now, this is really important here. Don't miss this. Jesus isn't saying, do good things so that God will love you. He isn't saying, go and feed people and go and help people that are in need so that God will love you. That's not what he's saying, right? We talked about this a little bit last week too. God does not call us to do these things just so that he will love us, right? The truth is, we were already broken. We were already messed up. We were the ones in need. We were in way more need than anyone just in need of food. We were in such need because we were screwed, basically. We were hopeless, abandoned, wrecked, just going on our own path and messing up in sin time and time again. But God didn't ignore us there, right? We talked about last week that he sent Jesus into our mess to forgive our sin, to give us this new life. And because he has done that, now he is calling us to something else, right? So when we help others, we're not trying to earn anything. We're not trying to earn anything from God. We're just responding to what Jesus has done for us, right? We are called to love others because Jesus loved us first, right? It's not that we're trying to earn anything. It's because he loves us that we are called to go and love others, right? And he calls us to find those in need and help them, to treat them as he would. Or what he really says, if you listen there, he says, imagine that they are me. He says, those are me. Those people in need are me, right? He wants us to treat them like it is Jesus, right? Because he says, hey, when you ignored them, you ignored me, right? Jesus lists the hungry, the thirsty, the lonely, right? The outsider, the kids with no friends. He lists them, right? He lists those in need of clothes, the sick, the prisoner, all of these groups that he calls the least of these, right? He says, look, all of these people, when you help them, it's like you're helping me. And when you ignore them, it's like you're ignoring me, right? God's stewards, as we talked about, which is all of us, right? We are all God's stewards. We've all been gifted with different talents and time and different possessions and things. We are called to help these people and care for them, right? And what that looks like can vary, right? Maybe it looks like inviting the stranger in and just talking to a kid who doesn't have any friends. Maybe it looks like helping someone in need, right? They talk about visiting prisoners. Maybe it looks like maybe you have a family member who's in prison or something and you write them a card or send them a letter or something like that. It can look like lots of different things. And I don't know if you guys were listening earlier when Ava was doing our announcements, but next week we're doing something. We're having a little can and cake night, right? We're gonna have a bunch of cake and it'll be awesome. But the real reason behind it is we're having this canned food drive. And on your way out tonight, you're gonna get one of these little sheets. Looks like this. There's one for each and every one of you. And on it, it's got a list, right? There's this group in town called Secor. Okay, if you've never heard of Secor, they are like literally like right up the road, and they're a food bank, and they help people in this very community that are struggling with food insecurity, and they help them by giving them food. So next week, we're challenging you guys, bring a can. Bring, whether it's just one can, right? I got some cans today, and cans of, this can of black beans was like 78 cents, right? Bring a can of something, right? When you see like one can by itself, you're like, okay, this is probably not going to make a huge difference. But when you think about that there's 120 of you in here, 120 cans, if everyone just brought one can, that makes a big difference. That's weeks of food for a family in need, right? And there's other things that they need as well besides food, and you guys can see it on there. But I would challenge you, just sometime this week, go find your pantry, or if your mom's going to the store, like, hey, can I come with, and can we get a can to bring? And we're going to take all these cans, and we're going to take them to Secor, and they are going to actually go and help the people in your very community that are in need, right? This is a chance for you guys to be the hands and feet of Jesus, to take care of the least of these. So you'll get this on your way out. And that's not the only way to live this out, right? That's just one way that we're going to kind of do as a group together, because I think it'll make a big impact. But there's other ways, right? You can, like I said, you can talk to someone in need. You can do the things. But we're going to get into the last song of worship here in a second. But I want you to think about this. If we all started to care for the least of these, if everyone in here started to care for the least of these, for the people in need, started to open up our eyes and see the needs in the world around us, man, we could have a big impact on this town, right? We could have a big impact on our schools. We could have a big impact if we actually looked around, because I truly believe when I look around this room, I see 120 middle schoolers who care, right? Who have the ability to look up and see the world around them and can actually make a difference. You can actually make change, whether it's in your school or in your families or in your neighborhoods. You can actually be the hands and feet of Jesus. I know you guys can encourage those people. You can love on those people. You can share Jesus with those people, right? Having open hands means not only, like we talked about last week, recognizing that, hey, we are stewards of this, not owners. This is not all ours, but God has gifted us with it. But it also means that we're going to have open hands and be generous with what we do have. We're going to go around and help others. We're going to help the least of these. We're going to help be the hands and feet of Jesus and go out and serve people and love people and give to those in need, right? Because there really is a serious need for this kind of thing. So I encourage you guys, when you leave tonight, take one of these. Think about bringing something next week. But just in this last song of worship, I just want you to think about, man, what is God maybe calling me to do? What could God be calling me to do to serve those around me? How could I be generous with the things God has gifted me? Let's pray, and then we'll get into this last song. Dear Lord, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for all of my wonderful friends in the room. I just thank you that we were all able to come here together and just spend some time praising you and seeing friends and having community and building that community. I pray for our community, God, as we go into our communities tomorrow, whether it's back to school or on our sports teams or in our neighborhoods, that we would look up and that we would see the needs of the community around us, that we would see those in need, that we would see that as an opportunity to be the hands and feet of you, Jesus, that we would see those people in need and we would have a heart that breaks for them. We have a heart that would want to help, that would want to be generous with what you've blessed us with, that we would hold what we have with open hands, and that we would truly start to understand what it looks like to have a generous heart. We pray all this, and everybody said.
All right, guys, you want to stand? We're going to do one more song of worship together. This is my surrender. Here is is where I lay it down. Every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down. Every burden, every doubt. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down. Every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. So I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. And I will make room for you, Lord, to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. All right, guys, let's sing this out together. And shake up the crowd of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. And shake up the crowd of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. Yes, your way is better. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Sing that out. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. This is my surrender.
Couple of things real quick, guys. Before you go, remember, on your way out, grab one of these, bring something next week. I'd encourage you to. And don't ever forget, you are loved and prayed for here at Garage, and you are accepted here just as you are. I hope you all have a great night, and we hope to see you next week. Bring a can, have some cake. It's going to be a great time. Love y'all. See you next week. Bye.